Imagine waking up one morning to find your country spending more money in a single day than it did in an entire year before. Now imagine that money vanishing schools, not into hospitals but into bullets, tanks, and trenches. World War I wasn't just a clash of armies, it was a clash of budgets. A war that didn't just destroy cities, it bankrupted empires. By the end of 1918, nations had poured over $200 billion into a war they thought would last only months. That's over $5 trillion today. But here's the mystery. How did they afford it? How did countries like Britain, France, and Germany keep fighting when their treasuries ran dry? The truth is, they didn't. They borrowed, they printed, they mortgaged their future, and the bill shaped the entire modern world. Today, we uncover the real price tag of World War I and the financial system that was born out of its ashes. Before the first shot was fired in 1914, Europe was rich, maybe too rich. Global trade was booming. The gold standard made money stable. The British pound was the world's most trusted currency. But behind the elegance of palaces and parades was tension and a dangerous confidence. Every empire, from Britain to Germany to France, believed it could afford victory. Governments had balanced budgets and small standing armies. Wars of the past had been short and cheap. No one expected a conflict that would consume half of Europe's GDP. When Archduke Franz Ferdinand was assassinated in June 1914, the war that followed didn't just cost lives, it broke the world's entire financial system. The moment war was declared, budgets exploded. Germany, once Europe's industrial powerhouse, spent over 170 million marks every single day. Britain, with the world's largest navy, spent more on artillery shells in 1 week than it had on its entire army the previous year. To pay for it, nations turned to desperate measures. Taxes skyrocketed. War bonds were sold to citizens with patriotic posters promising victory and interest. And when that wasn't enough, they printed money. Gold reserves vanished. Inflation rose. The German mark collapsed. The Russian ruble lost its value. Even Britain, the richest empire on earth, ended the war buried in debt owing billions to the United States. This was the first time in history that money itself became a weapon. Every bullet fired had an economic echo. When soldiers went to the front, factories lost workers. When factories shut down, food production dropped. When food became scarce, prices rose, and so did anger. Germany's hunger crisis and inflation helped spark revolution in 1918. Russia collapsed into chaos, birthing the Soviet Union. And Britain, victorious on paper than ever before, ended the war poorer. By 1919, the cost of World War I reached an unimaginable $208 billion, 10 times more than any war before it. The map of Europe was redrawn, but so was the map of global finance. The United States emerged as the world's new creditor. The British Empire, once banker to the world debtor, became and the seeds of the next great financial disaster, the Great Depression, were already being sown. So what can we learn from the budget of World War I? First, wars are never paid for in the moment, generations that follow. They're paid for by second. Money, once unchained from gold, can fuel power, but also destruction. And third, when nations gamble with debt to win wars, they often lose something even greater: economic stability. World War I didn't just redraw borders. It rewired the global economy, giving rise to central banking, modern taxation, and the permanent idea of national debt. It proved one haunting truth. Wars may end on the battlefield, but their budgets echo for centuries. And as you look at the world today, again printing, borrowing, sea with nations once arming, ask yourself, have we learned the cost of the war? If you seems my video interesting, please like, share, and subscribe.